mispronounced your name. Thank you for being here. Shout out to Mira. Write your name in the comment section if you want me to shout you out. I'm doing shout outs today. Hi, thank you for being here. Shout out to Nanda. Write your name in the chat if you want me to shout you out. Shout out to Emmanuel. Shout out to Pilar. Shout out to Bloomy. Shout out to Savannah. You're welcome. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Melanie. Shout out to Wyatt. Shout out to Pomni. Shout out to Hanji. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Isaiah. Shout out to Darius. Shout out to Mia. Shout out to Cooper. Shout out to Cute. Shout out to Liana. Shout out to Isha, or Aisha, sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Mila. Shout out to Zoe. Shout out to Dulce. Shout out to Kylie. Shout out to Isabelli. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Chelsea. Let's try to get to 100 likes. Shout out to Jennifer. Shout out to Jade. Shout out to Kareem. Shout out to Alex. Shout out to Mike. Shout out to Haven. Shout out to Christopher. Shout out to Christine. Shout out to Anne. Shout out to Layla. Shout out to Maddie. Shout out to Emmy. Shout out to Shaka. Shout out to Marissa. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Grayson. Shout out to Zaya. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Erica. Shout out to Shaya. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Ella. Shout out to Nesson. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Lou. Shout out to Alina. Shout out to Ella. Thank you for subscribing. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Isabella. Shout out to Emmy. Shout out to Sadaf. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Halo. Shout out to Veronica. Shout out to Axel. Shout out to Kay or Kai. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Spencer. Shout out to Macy. Shout out to Sophie. Shout out to Wyatt. Shout out to Boston. Shout out to Jasmine. Shout out to Coda. Shout out to Elsie. Shout out to Genesis. Shout out to Audios. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Keisha or Kesha. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Justine. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Bao. Shout out to Amparo. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Darwin. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Savannah. Shout out to these people. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Write your name in the chat if you want me to shout you out. Thank you for being here. Shout out to Alexis. Shout out to Novella. Novella, sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Messiah. Shout out to Remy. Shout out to Adeline. Shout out to Robert. Shout out to Zara, or Zara, sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Lorelli. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Noelle. Shout out to Hazel. Shout out to Faith. Shout out to Katie. Oops, I messed up. Shout out to CJ. Sorry if I mess up your name. Shout out to Chloe. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Jordan. Shout out to Lucy. Shout out to Jessica. Shout out to Cassia. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Kiana. Shout out to Layla. Like and subscribe if you're enjoying my live stream. Shout out to Asa. Shout out to Hadassah. Sorry if I mess up your name. Shout out to Joyce. Shout out to Harlena. Shout out to Grace. Shout out to Emily. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Let's try to get to 100 likes. Shout out to Virginia. Shout out to Aria. Shout out to Olivia. Shout out to Genesis. Shout out to Lorenzo. Shout out to Simran. Sorry if I mess up your name. Shout out to Cosmo. Shout out to Bonnie. Shout out to Carrie. Shout out to Cookie. Shout out to London. Shout out to Ashley. Shout out to Carlos. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Paisley. Shout out to Josiel. Thank you for subscribing. Sorry if I mess up your name. Shout out to Preston. Shout out to Sophia. Shout out to Zoe. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Quinn. Shout out to Carla. Like and subscribe if you enjoy my shout outs. Also check out my other content. Shout out to Andy. Shout out to Lizzie. Shout out to, is it Asa? Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Esther. Shout out to Sophia. Shout out to Halo. Shout out to Nara. Shout out to Luna. Shout out to Yen. Shout out to Sky. Leave a like. I hope we can get to 100 likes. We're halfway there, or a little more than halfway. Shout out to Salish. Shout out to Zoya. Shout out to Lindsay. Shout out to Michaela. Shout out to Liana. Shout out to Jimmy. Shout out to Delilah. Shout out to Charlie. Shout out to Jong Wong. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Caitlin. Like and subscribe if you enjoy my content. Shout out to Damien. Shout out to Chloe. Shout out to Jawira. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to these people. on to the next page. Please leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Let's try to get to 100 likes. Thank you for being here. Shout out to JC. Shout out to Yvette. Shout out to Stacy. Shout out to Sarah. Shout out to Liz. Shout out to Robert. Shout out to Maya. Shout out to Aiden. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Aldi. Shout out to Min. Shout out to Jay. Shout out to Lila. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Francis. Shout out to Jazz. Shout out to Charlie. We're almost at 100 likes. Shout out to Luna. Shout out to Sammy. Shout out to Alanis. Shout out to Faith. Shout out to Abby. Shout out to Megan. Shout out to Lucas. Shout out to Aria. Only 4 likes away from 100 likes. Shout out to Jandal. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Alejandro. Shout out to Ava. Shout out to Aspen. Shout out to Cybele. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Fernanda. Shout out to Amy. Shout out to Maria. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Gladys, sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Rosie. Shout out to Lou. Shout out to Evelyn. Shout out to Raheem. Thank you for 100 likes. Shout out to Jelani. Shout out to Tessa. Shout out to Eliza. Shout out to Fred. Shout out to Ariana. Shout out to Lux. Shout out to Debbie. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Linnell. Shout out to Angel. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Jenna. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Lauren. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Gladys. Shout out to Steven. Shout out to Kinsley. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Leslie. Shout out to Navitha. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Angie. Shout out to Aisha. Shout out to Micah or Mika. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to TJ. Shout out to Iris. Shout out to Kaya. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Let's try to get to 200 likes. Shout out to Audrey. Shout out to Fiorella. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Rosella. Shout out to Jacqueline. Shout out to Jamie. Happy birthday. Shout out to Amanda. Shout out to Levi. Shout out to Sophia. Shout out to Allison. Shout out to Annie. Shout out to Abria. Shout out to these people. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy my live streams. Also check out my channel. I post other content. I hope you can support me. On to the next page. Thank you so much for being here. Shout out to Kingston. Shout out to Lucy. Shout out to Harper. Shout out to Raftalia. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Mia or Maya. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Delilah. Shout out to Riley. Shout out to Gia. Shout out to Micaiah. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Reese. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Jesly. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Doki. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Carly. Shout out to Kira. Shout out to Naira. Shout out to Zamaya. Shout out to Millie. Shout out to Adrian. Shout out to Nora. Please leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Adeline. Shout out to Hudson. Shout out to Chloe. Shout out to Sailor. Or Siler, sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Blair. Shout out to Paula, thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Jacob, or Jacob, sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Tia. Shout out to Jake. Shout out to Annalisa. Shout out to Hope. Shout out to Clarity. Shout out to Alan. Shout out to Jaina. Shout out to Gemma, thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Zoe. Shout out to Lyra. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Callista. Shout out to Kenzie. Shout out to Jane. Shout out to Gracie. Shout out to Cody. Shout out to Kaden. Shout out to Justice. Shout out to Kareem. Shout out to Brooklyn. Shout out to Anna. Give me like 20 seconds. Thank you for your patience. Shout out to Clarity. Shout out to Rhonda. Shout out to Billy. Shout out to Angel. Shout out to Chelsea. Shout out to Nikki. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. We're almost at 200 likes. Shout out to Caitlin. Shout out to Marley. Shout out to Millie. Shout out to Miranda. Shout out to Zadell. Shout out to Aaliyah. Shout out to Anai. Shout out to Kay or Kai. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Jay. Shout out to Nelly. Shout out to Alejandra. Shout out to Gael. Shout out to Melissa. Shout out to Jasa. Oops. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to oh, I missed it. Shout out to Dakota. Shout out to Hee-seong. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Ezra. Shout out to these people. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. I hope we can get to 200 likes. We're almost there. On to the next page. Thank you for being here. Shout out to Caleb. Shout out to Abraham. Shout out to Avery. Shout out to Benji. Shout out to Destiny. Shout out to Claire. Shout out to Ruth. Shout out to Ashlyn. Shout out to Tay. Shout out to Braylon. Shout out to Gemma. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Briley. Shout out to Tess. Shout out to Adelina. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Dahlia. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Marco. Shout out to Calliope. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Toby. Shout out to Jason. Shout out to Mimi. Leave a like. We're almost at 200 likes. Thank you so much for being here. Shout out to Cerise. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Suno or Sano. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Desi. Excuse me. Shout out to Allison. Shout out to Amin. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Julie. Shout out to Lucy. Shout out to, thank you, Tyliana. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Lily. Shout out to Floor. Shout out to Malia. Shout out to Amilar. Shout out to Angel. Shout out to Kyrie. Shout out to Crystal. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Joan. Shout out to Analyst Son. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Sophie. Shout out to Pakoyaki. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Timmy. We're almost at 200 likes. Shout out to Brianna. Shout out to Thiago. Shout out to Jen. Shout out to Donna. Or Dana. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Bella. Shout out to Amy. Shout out to Jaylene. Shout out to Marilat. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Amna. Shout out to Winter. Shout out to Amaya. Shout out to Aliana. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Aaron. Shout out to Lakeland. Shout out to Llama. Shout out to Gabby. Thank you for 200 likes. Shout out to JT. Shout out to Ari. Shout out to Alicia. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Edward. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Juan. Shout out to Juan Paul. Juan Paul. Shout out to Tiana. Shout out to Aline. Sorry if I mispronounce her name. Shout out to Jensen. Shout out to Diari. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Candy. Shout out to Sung Hoon. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Song Hoon. Shout out to Mohammed. Shout out to these people. On to the next page. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Also subscribe to my channel if you like the shout outs. I also post other content. I hope you can check it out and support. Thank you so much for being here. Shout out to Tayana. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Teresa. Shout out to Addie. Shout out to D. Shout out to Bryden. Shout out to Samara. Shout out to Emma. Shout out to Isaac. Shout out to, is it Cameron? Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Leilani. Shout out to Derek. Shout out to Ivy. Shout out to Gigi. Shout out to Myra. Shout out to Katie. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Poppy. Shout out to Adrian. Shout out to Diari. Shout out to Paisley. Shout out to Destiny. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Michaela. Shout out to Angela. Shout out to Courtney. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Rashad. Shout out to Layla or Lila. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Violet. Shout out to Ariana. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Anaya. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Litzy. Shout out to Leon. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Oh wait, I think I spelled it wrong. Hold on. Shout out to Leon. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Lamies. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Akeliana. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Olive. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Excuse me. Shout out to Emmy. Shout out to Audrey. Shout out to Layla. Shout out to Rowan. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Gemma. Shout out to, excuse me, Gracelyn. Shout out to Hank. Shout out to Talis. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Hannah. Shout out to Amir. Shout out to Albert. Whoops, I messed up. Shout out to Albert. Shout out to Izamiri. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Myra. Shout out to Angela. Shout out to Ems. Shout out to Avea. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Heidi or Heidi. Shout out to Brawl. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Mishka. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Janelle. Shout out to Janelle. Shout out to Angelina. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Lumpy. Shout out to Daisy. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Levi. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Faith. Shout out to LaShawn. Shout out to Raiden. Or Raiden. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Anna. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to John. Shout out to Sydney. Shout out to Emma. Shout out to Rapalina. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Nadifa. Whoops, Nadifa. Shout out to Tatulia. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Althea. Shout out, sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to these people. On to the next page. Like and subscribe if you enjoy my shout outs. I also post other content. I hope you can check it out. Thank you for being here. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Natalie. Shout out to Jude. Shout out to Todd. Shout out to Envy. Shout out to Sadie. Shout out to Stella. Shout out to Asheen. Shout out to Julia. Shout out to Dairo. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Emmy. Shout out to Tatiana. Shout out to Alex. Shout out to Sarwin. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Oliver. Happy birthday. Shout out to Henry. Shout out to Ashley. Shout out to Caroline. Shout out to Matt. Shout out to Sophia. Happy birthday. Shout out to Mars. Shout out to Aubrey. Shout out to Tucker. Shout out to Rihanna. Shout out to Lily. Happy birthday. Shout out to Kate G. Excuse me. Shout out to Kemi. Shout out to Rowan. Shout out to Shar. Shout out to Gianna. Shout out to Hayden. Shout out to Tatiana. Thank you. Shout out to Johnny. Shout out to Reza. Shout out to Portia. Thank you. Shout out to M. Foster Man. Shout out to Adele. Shout out to Gnarly. Shout out to Gianna. Happy birthday. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Sophia. Happy birthday. Shout out to Levi. Shout out to Emily. Shout out to Ava. Shout out to Andrea. Shout out to Ava. Shout out to Tursunai. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Whoops, I messed up. Shout out to Jaco. Shout out to is it Jana? Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Mia. Shout out to Glory. Shout out to Roblox. Shout out to Marjorie. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Brandon. Shout out to Riley. Shout out to Rifa. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Sophia. Shout out to Frankie. Shout out to Babita. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Malachi. Shout out to Amity. Shout out to Amari. Shout out to Carla. Shout out to Jasmine. Shout out to Mahi. Shout out to Israel. Shout out to Jake. Shout out to Josiah. Shout out to Lizzie. Shout out to Baljeet. Shout out to these people. On to the next page. Like and subscribe if you're enjoying the live stream. Thank you so much for being here. Also, thank you for your patience. Shout out to Vivian. Shout out to Scarlett. Shout out to Adelanto. Shout out to Renata. Shout out to Zach. Shout out to Augie. Shout out to Fiorella. Shout out to Lauren. Whoops, I messed up. Shout out to Lauren. Shout out to Monique. Shout out to Halea. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Jessica. Shout out to Leah. Shout out to Toto. Leave a like. We're almost at 300 likes. Shout out to Olivia. Shout out to Riley. Shout out to Aiden. Shout out to Maylin. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Quinlan. Shout out to Eleni. Shout out to Kylie. Shout out to Monarch. Shout out to Stella. Shout out to Aurora. Shout out to Abby. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Dandy. Shout out to Izzy. Shout out to Maymay. Shout out to Adam. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Marisol. Leave a like. We're almost at 300 likes. Shout out to Greg. Shout out to Sia. Ursaya, sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Allison. Shout out to Dallas. Shout out to Laura. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Amaya. Shout out to Grayson. Shout out to Elijah. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Maeve. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Kendra. Shout out to Asher. Shout out to Rosemary. Shout out to Raj. Shout out to Mishka. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Ruben. Shout out to Samuel. Shout out to Cookie. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Shayla. Shout out to Owen. Shout out to Beth. Shout out to Gyro, or Hyro, sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Sam. Shout out to Nisa, or Nisa, sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to John. Shout out to Musfira, thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Genesis. Shout out to Nolan. Shout out to Nathaniel. Shout out to Mishka, I got you. Right here. Shout out to Brooklyn. Shout out to Avery. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Gabriella. Shout out to, is it Josie? Josie. Shout out to Giselle. Shout out to Amor. Thank you for 300 likes. Shout out to Sada or Sada. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Prisha. Shout out to Giovanni. Shout out to Kimberly. Shout out to Julissa. Shout out to these people. on to the next page. Please like and subscribe if you're enjoying my content and my shout outs. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your patience. Shout out to Hope. Shout out to Lando. Shout out to Zara. Shout out to Jimena. Shout out to McLean. Shout out to Emmeline. Or Emmeline, sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Rosie, thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Sophia. Shout out to George. Shout out to Sia. Shout out to Zara. Shout out to Brielle. Shout out to Jenya. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Avery. Shout out to Rain. Shout out to Ava. Shout out to Ireland. Shout out to Liz. Shout out to Emma Kelly. Shout out to Abigail, thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Zane. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Sadaf. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Esperanza. Excuse me. Shout out to Aladdin. Shout out to Trinity. Shout out to Maida. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Esma. Shout out to Corey, thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Kiki. Shout out to Andrew. Shout out to Ice. Shout out to Adelia. Shout out to Yuriana. Shout out to Kylie. Shout out to Kiana. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Monique. Shout out to Josh. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Maida. Maida. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Gabby. Shout out to Drew. Shout out to Aubrey. Shout out to Kayla. Shout out to Ben. Shout out to Gigi. Shout out to Mike. Shout out to Nicole. Shout out to Elijah. Shout out to David. Shout out to Paisley. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Alessandro. Shout out to Claire. Shout out to Riley. Shout out to, yes, I could see this little hearts. Thank you so much. Shout out to Tony. Shout out to Coral. Shout out to Tristan. Shout out to Brianna. Shout out to Ivy. Shout out to Royce. Shout out to Leah. Shout out to Safa. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Jewel. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Kamen or Kamen. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Melody. Shout out to Elle. Shout out to Kathy. Shout out to Demi. Shout out to Ella Baker. Shout out to Tadeo. Shout out to Parker. Shout out to these people. On to the next page. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Maybe we can get to 400 likes. We're almost there. Thank you so much for being here. Subscribe to my channel. I do live streams and I have other content. I hope you can check it out. Shout out to Maya. Shout out to Cindy. Shout out to Victoria. Shout out to Aiden. Shout out to Taylor. Shout out to Marigold. Shout out to Claudia. Shout out to Steph. Shout out to Diane. Was it Diane with 2 N's? Yes. Shout out to Eve. Shout out to Brayley. Can you spell your name again, please? Shout out to Mila. Shout out to Naraya. Shout out to Brenda. Shout out to Aaliyah. Shout out to Salome. Shout out to Casey. Shout out to Taylin. Shout out to, oh, there's an E right here. Shout out to Arzu. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Adam. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Brayley. Thank you for writing your name again. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Mariah. Shout out to Mimi. Shout out to Salis. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Sorry, excuse me. Shout out to Samantha. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Let's try to get to 400 likes. Thank you. Shout out to Remy. Shout out to Laura. Shout out to Sammy. Shout out to Kendra. Shout out to Lay. Shout out to Naraya. Shout out to Amna. Sorry. Leave a like. We're almost at 400. Shout out to Celine. Shout out to Liana or Liana. Shout out to Jaina. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Monique. Shout out to Nishan. Shout out to Zanab. Shout out to Adeline. Shout out to Merlin. Shout out to Charles. Shout out to Lady Mary. Shout out to Ethan. Shout out to Janaya. Shout out to Paisley. Shout out to Cindy. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Melody. Shout out to Lola. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Annalise. Shout out to Janae. Shout out to Jana. Sorry. Janisha. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Tristan. Shout out to Tessa. Shout out to Peyton. Shout out to Carrie. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Henry. Shout out to Dara. Shout out to Alice. Shout out to Lily Grace. Shout out to Casey. Shout out to Rocky. Shout out to Jaya. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Kaylee. Shout out to Lily. Shout out to Casey. Shout out to Darren. Shout out to Tatum. Shout out to Carrie, I got you right here. Shout out to Cameron. Shout out to Sophia. Shout out to Kingston. Shout out to these people. Please like and subscribe. I will be doing another live stream today. So please subscribe so you know when I live stream. Also check out my channel. I post other content. Thank you so much for being here. Have a great night or have a great day. I will see you soon. Take care. Bye.